There's a dresser sitting in a farmhouse in Vermont, built in 1887. No screws, no metal brackets, no wood glue from a bottle. The drawers still slide perfectly. The joints haven't moved a millimeter in over 100 years. And the guy who built it used maybe 4 tools total. Now compare that to what happens today. Someone buys a brand new router, a laser guide, a digital caliper, spends $400 on a weekend at the hardware store, gets home, follows a plan they found online, and by Sunday night, the joint doesn't close. The drawer sticks. The whole thing wobbles just enough to be embarrassing. And they sit there thinking, what did I do wrong? Nothing. You did nothing wrong. The problem is older than you think. And the solution is even older than that. Because somewhere between 1920 and today, woodworking quietly lost something. Not a technique that became obsolete. A technique that became inconvenient for the people selling you tools. I want to show you what that technique is, how it actually works, and why once you understand it, you're going to look at every joint you've ever cut and think, I was making this so much harder than it needed to be. Let's go back to 1887 for a second. The craftsmen building furniture back then didn't have electric routers. They didn't have laser-guided miter saws. They had hand planes, chisels, a marking gauge, and something that modern woodworking has almost completely forgotten about: compression fit. Here's what that means, and I want you to really follow this because it changes everything. When 2 pieces of wood are cut precisely enough and fitted together with the grain running in complementary directions, the wood itself creates the hold. No glue, no screw. The joint locks under its own pressure and actually tightens over time as the wood moves with humidity. That's not magic, that's physics. And it's been working for centuries. The tool that made this possible, the one thing that sat at the center of this entire approach, was the marking gauge. Not a pencil, not a tape measure, a marking gauge. It's a small tool, a beam, a fence, a sharpened pin or blade. You set it once, you run it along the grain, and it scribes a line so precise, so consistent, that every cut you make after that is already dialed in before you pick up the saw. Here's the specific technique, and this is the part nobody teaches anymore. When you're cutting a mortise and tenon joint, one of the oldest and strongest joints in woodworking, modern guides tell you to measure with a tape, mark with a pencil, and cut to the line. The old way is different. You set your marking gauge to the exact thickness of your tenon piece. Not close, exact. You press the fence against the face of the wood and run the pin across. Then you do the same on the mortise piece from the same face. What happens? Both pieces reference the same surface, the same fence, the same single setting. Any variation in the wood's thickness, and there's always variation, gets absorbed automatically because you're not measuring from 2 different reference points. You're measuring from one. The joint fits because the system fits, not because your eye was good that day. That's what compression fit is built on. That's why those 1887 drawers still slide perfectly. And here's the part that should make you a little angry. This technique didn't disappear because something better came along. It disappeared because it doesn't require you to buy anything new. A good marking gauge costs $15 and lasts a lifetime. There's no firmware update, no replacement blade subscription, no reason for a company to put it in a YouTube ad. The tool industry didn't kill it with a better product. They just got louder about everything else. I want to say something here that's a little off topic, but I think it matters. The reason most people struggle with woodworking isn't skill. It really isn't. It's that they're working from incomplete information. A plan that looks finished but skips the step where everything could go wrong. A materials list that's almost right. Instructions that assume you already know the hard part. I've seen it happen over and over. Someone cuts perfectly. Someone measures carefully. And the project still doesn't come together because the plan they were following was never complete to begin with. If that sounds familiar, you're not alone. And it's worth knowing there are resources built specifically around that problem. Plans that have actually been built and tested before anyone tries to follow them, with exact cut lists and real assembly sequences. Not theory, not sketches with ambition. I'll leave a link in the comments if you want to take a look. No pressure, just worth knowing it exists. Back to the marking gauge. I want to give you one more thing before we're done, something you can take to your shop this weekend. If you've been getting joints that are almost right, close, but not quite locking, try this before you change anything else. Pick one face of your wood, call it the reference face. Every single measurement you make for that joint comes from that face only. Doesn't matter which face. Just pick one and never switch. Set your marking gauge once. Don't reset it halfway through. Don't remeasure with a tape to double check. Trust the setting. Cut to the scribed line, not past it, not short of it, to it. Then test the fit dry, no glue, and feel where the resistance is. If it's tight in one spot, that spot is telling you exactly where to take a little more off. The joint is talking to you. Most people just haven't learned to listen yet. That's compression fit in practice. That's 100 years of furniture-making knowledge in 3 steps. The craftsman who built that Vermont dresser wasn't more talented than you. He wasn't working with better wood. He just had a system, and he trusted it completely. Modern woodworking sold you the idea that better tools make better furniture. And sometimes that's true. But more often than not, a $15 marking gauge and a technique that's been working since before electricity will take you further than anything you'll find in a catalog. The dresser in Vermont is still standing. That's the proof. If you want to keep going with this kind of thing, the old techniques, the ones that actually hold up, I put together some thoughts in the comments below. There's a link there too for something that I think is genuinely useful for anyone who's serious about building things that last. Take it or leave it. Either way, go make something.